The movie begins with an old woman lamenting at the feet of a totem pole at night about how difficult it has been for her to live alone without a man in her groaning. She hits the pole with a container, which then causes the wooden nose of the pole to fall on her head. Afterward, she experiences an occurrence of some men emerging out of the woods, approaching her. The next morning, the district magistrate, surprised by it, talks with one of the villagers about the experience the old woman had. And they start to get cautious of whatever the consequences of what happened to the woman will be later on. A group of women finds the wooden nose in the middle of the village and one of them picks it up, causing the same men to emerge from nowhere and forcefully sleep with them as they all try to run away. Afterward, one of the men buries this wooden nose under the ground close to the totem pole. This incident causes an increase in the libido of the women villagers. An old monk reaching the village confirms this as he sees some signs. Later on, some men from the neighborhood are seen consistently harassing the men of the village. And no man in the village dares confront them because they seem deadly. They mess with a particular man named Byun who beats up one of them. This makes the ladies around get interested in him as they talk about his power. Meanwhile, as they talk, the old woman comes by and tells them that he is a weak man as opposed to what they think. She recounts to them a story of her encounter with him. This encounter was such that he did not last a minute while she made out with him also having a small manhood. Her words make Byun sad and regretful of his state. Later, Byun finds the women stealing, looks at his brother Gangtok as he takes his bath in the river. Byun becomes a laughing stock in the village because of this. This makes him angry while in a restaurant and his brother comes to take him before he destroys many more things than he has. In the next scene, Jang Mok takes his brother to the river to cool him down. There they find a woman doll gang who wins and dances in their sight. Afterward, Gang Mok makes a fire, roasting some meat to make Byun feel better. Byun refuses to take the meat and leaves at the riverside. Some men talk about doll gang saying how loose she is in sharing their plan to sleep with her. They all meet at the river where she takes her baths at night and waits for her. They find Byun present there and laugh at him. She comes in no time as they all play together in the river. For the next few days, Byun starts to drop food packages in front of her house anonymously. The other guys are seen to always watch doll gang while she bathes in the river in the morning. One of these mornings while watching the women of the village catch them and pursue them off. They then attack doll gang, but Gang Mok rescues her and takes her home. He later plans to marry her to Byun in 5 days. This gets Byun surprised and he leaves in anger. Meanwhile, an old monk is caught up in a net trap with his little boy back in the bushes. They continue to cry out for help as Byun finds them and rescues them, taking them to a fire he set up. The old monk decides to reward him for his help. He tells him to go to the village shrine and face the totem pole in a particular direction, making some movements. He tells him he will find a bottle of potion in the ground after digging it, making mention to him to drink of it, taking only a sip, after which his impotence will be cured. He gives him some rules of which he's not allowed to make out for 15 days. Then he will be a real man, as the old monk wants to tell him the repercussions of taking more than a sip. He leaves without taking note of that. After this, Byun finds this potion and drinks out of it, taking more than one sip, remembering the scorns he faced from the village women. The next day, an army of soldiers is seen approaching the village. Meanwhile, a war breaks out and every man is selected to fight the war coming out of the bushes. Byun is informed that his brother had substituted for him. Back at the house, Byun finds Do El Guan, who welcomes him home and offers him food to eat. He begins to get attracted to her as he notices some changes in his manhood, leading to bizarre occurrences around him. This makes him remember the words of the old monk about old flowers blooming, and he also being in full bloom. He, feeling pressed, decides to take a pee, which turns out to be enormous, quenching the wildfire that broke out in the village. This leaves everyone surprised as they continue to talk about it at night. The women stealthily watch him as he plays with his manhood. They are surprised at the enormity as they all gaze at it. Eventually, they seem happy about it. Later that night, as Byun pounds a substance in a mortar, the effects are felt all around the village. This makes all the females in the neighborhood break out of their homes toward the sound. Later the next morning, as Byun hawks his rice cakes, the ladies are seen to be making advances at him as they try to lure him to sleep with them. He seemed to be naive about it, and this makes the ladies wonder. They try to capture him, but they fail as well. The women lament about not having a man to satisfy them, trying to find out why Byong is turning them down. They conclude that it must be lack of confidence and that they need to get him in the mood. They plan to do this at night. Later at night, one of the women breaks into his house in a bid to seduce him after making him drink of the wine she begins to make advances to him. While Byun bid to escape, she falls, and this makes him get in the mood, and he sleeps with her. This action gets all the ladies awake as they rush down towards Byung's house. The former lady explains to them as they reach his house how good the makeout was. They all get to line up to sleep with him. This he did till the next morning. The next morning, news about Bian goes around till it gets to the district magistrate. Meanwhile, the ladies all begin to admire Bian, telling him of his prowess. Back at home, it seems Dull Gang is cross at it, but Bian doesn't know why. Shortly after, the army comes by to buy one's house, along with the Minister for Foreign Affairs. They come to tell him of their plans for the town. They also want him to play a game of holding weights with their manhood, and if he wins, they will send his brother back home to him. The game starts with the man with the strongest libido in the village. He bears the first, second, and third pair of weights before giving up when it is by one's turn. The first pair of weights nearly rips his manhood off, but when he sights a lady enticing him with a banana, he doesn't know when the weights add up to 10. This amazes everyone, especially the man with the strongest libido, and the district magistrate calls a party to celebrate by one's potency at the party. Some ladies try to pull Bian over to have fun with, but he declines. Just then, a horse rider stops by to bring the magistrate a tragic news by one's brother. Jang Mok is disclosed dead in battle since his body cannot be found. The next day, when all the other men are away at battle, Bian locks himself inside the house to mourn his brother. Soon by one's brother's wife falls sick from fever, and he takes her to a physician who then tells him there is no cure unless he sleeps with her. Bian finds this very difficult, but since the physician said she won't last much longer, he eventually does, and it appears that she likes him. Next, the village priest gives the magistrate a solution to the drought occurring in the village, which has taken many lives. He says they need to give the gods a sacrifice. The god is a bear and it has to sleep with a volunteer from the village. Later, while they gather to look for the libido potion before selecting someone, the village women begin to show signs of pregnancy. The district magistrate finds out just then that since Bian was the only man left behind while they went to the battlefield, he must have been the one who drank the potion and then slept with all the women. So he decides to offer him to the bear while they troop to go after Bian. The old woman who also slept with him takes a shortcut to inform him before time. On her way, she finds by one's brother alive, walking back home with crutches. Bian grabs his sister-in-law and flees to the physician's place. He then tells her about the pregnancy and another complication. He says the drought will soon kill her and the baby if a solution is not found. Yun hears this and goes immediately from there to offer himself up for the sacrifice. Soon, Gang Mok visits the clinic and the ladies are shocked. They refuse to tell him about the pregnancy until he asks them if she's married to Bian yet. He says that he told her to marry him before he went for war. At the village square, the priest deceives Bian by not telling him about the bear before sending him into the cave. When Bian later sees that it is a bear, he screams. The villagers outside later begin to worry that he's dead. The old woman later goes to beat the drum and they begin to sing a right song to pray to their god for rain. At the same time, Bian continues on his mission. And it begins to rain. The villagers rejoice and they go home. Years later, all of Bae One's children are shown shooting urine up in the air and calling out to their father. Next on a boat, one of the villagers tells by one story to her daughter, unknown to them that he's the peddler. Thanks for watching.